Hey tax students, this is your teacher Roy at Leeward College with a video demonstration in preparing Form 1040EZ. I cannot control the quality of this video's resolution, so to see the real detail, you need to take a look at the problem in our textbook and the wording in the actual tax forms. So let's download that Form 1040EZ by going here in our Lalima homepage to the tool called Tax Forms Federal. And it'll take you to the IRS website where you can download either the current year's forms and publications, that's the year 2016, or prior years, 2015 and earlier, by either typing in the form number or publication number here and then clicking on the search button. Or for the real common forms, if you just scroll down further, like we're looking for Form 1040EZ, which is linked here, and the related instructions which we'll need later on. But let's first download that form by clicking on the link. And now you can see that form 1040EZ for 2016 in our Google Chrome web browser. So you would not fill in the form here in the browser screen because you probably will not be able to save your work. So you first have to download the form, which I'll do by putting it on my desktop so it's easy to find. And then let's take a look at the desktop here. So you can see the form. So if you open it up, you probably will use Adobe Reader. As you can see, I'm using Acrobat, which is comparable. So now you can fill in these blue fields that you could turn off and on with this button here. So the problem we want to do is at the end of our chapter number 1. This is problem number 2 on page 40 for Jin, where we're given her address and social security number. She's going to be using the single filing status. And we have 2 W-2 forms. So here's information from one of them for Lakeland Automotive. And here's the information for the second one from Parts Galore. She also has interest income reported on a Form 1099 INT from Minnesota Savings and Loan in the amount of $51.92. Now, looking at this information here in paragraphs in our textbook is not realistic. If you want to get a more realistic situation, what we can do here back on our Laulima homepage is to go to this link called McGraw-Hill Online Learning Center, OLC, where you can download source documents for all of the problems located at the end of our chapters. So here for the additional student resources. If I click on this link, it'll ask you to download a Word file. So here I've already downloaded it, and you have to enable editing to be able to make these links work. And what you want to use is this link called Source Documents. And those documents are compressed in a zip file, and when you open them up you'll see forms like this W-2 form for Lakeland Automotive, and let's see, one for Parts Galore, and a 1099 INT form from Minnesota Savings. So these forms are more realistic than using numbers in a textbook. So either way, you can enter this information now in our downloaded 1040EZ. So again, I have it here on my desktop, but let me resave it. So let's see if I can find it here. I'm going to go to File and Save as a PDF. And I'll just add the name Jin, the first name of our taxpayer, and it'll go on our desktop again. Okay, so let's fill in the blanks here. First name is Jin. If I want to move to the next field, instead of using my mouse, the best way to speed up data entry is to use the Tab key. tab will move you from field to field to field, yeah, and shift tab will move you backwards. So here I am in the last name field. Her last name is Jiang with a social number of 412-345-670. And the next line would be blank since she's filing as single filing status. Her home address, 2468 North Lake Road in Lakeland, Minnesota, 56444. The next line should be blank for foreign country. We aren't given any information for the presidential election campaign checkbox here, so we leave it blank. So the next thing we can fill in is line 1. That would be the total wages coming from those two W-2 forms. Really box number 1 on those two forms. So again, here is one of them, parts galore. And instead of using a calculator, what I can do is copy this number and paste it into a spreadsheet that I already started here with the payee or payer's names and the different categories of amounts. So parts galore, I can paste in the wages. And since I'm already on that W-2, I can also copy and paste the federal income taxes that will be eventually put on the 1040EZ form here in the next column. And if I were to do the Minnesota tax return, I probably would copy this state income taxes withheld for the year. Let's take a look at the W-2 for Lakeland Automotive, the larger of the two W-2s. So I can select, copy, Control C, and then paste it into my spreadsheet. So here's the income taxes for Lakeland. And now I can use a formula to total up my two amounts here, two sets of amounts. If you want to learn how to use spreadsheets, the best class to take here at Leeward College would be Business 101. Business Computer Systems taught in the Business Education Division, where you would learn Excel like I'm using right now, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Access. If you want to learn even more how to use Excel in an accounting situation, accounting majors here at Leeward College are required to take Accounting 255 using Excel and accounting. So let's take this total here, 44,558, and paste it into our 1040EZ form. So I click in that field I want to paste it and just Control V. You notice the cents 0.29. Cents on the tax form will go to the right of this vertical line. But it's probably best, and most professionals do this, is to round to the nearest dollar. So in the case of the cents, if it's 50 cents or higher, you would increase to the next dollar. But here I would just drop the cents in the case of less than 50 cents. Okay, so that's the total for line 1. Then the interest going into line 2, that's coming from the 1099 INT form from Minnesota Savings. You always make sure you're dealing with the correct taxpayer here. For the correct year, sometimes taxpayers will give you multiple years and you don't add up more than 1 year's amounts for one return. In our case here, the number is 5192. So I'll just round it up straight into the tax return by typing in $52. In line 3, you would report any unemployment insurance or unemployment compensation reported to the taxpayer on a form called 1099G. We weren't given any, so we just leave it blank to indicate 0. And in line 4 would be the total of those 3 previous lines. So that's $44,610. Now in line 5, we get to enter an amount we can deduct. And it's based upon the filing status of our taxpayer. And again, we're using the single filing status, where now we can deduct this 10,350. Let me just paste it here. Or if the taxpayers, if it's a joint return, you could use double that amount, 20,700. Now, if our taxpayer here could be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return, you would have to check off this box here. And then on the back side of this 1040EZ form is a worksheet that you would have to figure out or calculate the amount of the deduction. And we'll get into this calculation when we get into our next chapter, chapter number 2. But for now, it's just a plain $10,350 we get to deduct. So the remaining amount, line 6, is $34,260. This line is called taxable income, or the tax base in our calculation. In line 7 would be all the taxes that were withheld during the year, and we've already done that calculation or total on our spreadsheet. There's 4,960 that I'll paste and erase the cents. In line 8 is a number called earned income credit. We'll learn about tax credits when we reach chapter 9. For now, you can just leave tax credits blank. And here in line 9, we would add up line 7 and 8, so just the same 4,960 in line number 9. Now in line 10, we would have to figure out the tax that's based upon the taxable income back on line 7. Here's, in line 6, that's the taxable income of $34,260. And what we would do is use the instruction booklet for the 1040EZ, or we also have something called tax tables in the appendix at the end of our textbook. And I've already downloaded the 1040EZ instructions. And what's nice about this PDF version is if you go to the index, you can just click on the page number. Here I want to go to the tax table, so just click on this page 33, and I'm at the start of the tax table page. And what I would do is go down this tables and find the range. Here's the 1,000 range, 2,000 range. I'm looking for a taxable income range of 34,000. So here is 34,000. And specifically, my amount of taxable income was 34,260, which falls within 34,250 and 34,300. You always make sure to read the headings at the top of the column where it says at least my number, my taxable income, is this amount here, but less than the second amount column. Now, if you have exactly 34,300, it's not less than 34,300, so you would have to then use this next row to figure out your tax. Anyway, our taxable income falls within this range, and we use the number in this third column, which you can see the heading is called our filing status, single. Or if you were married filing joint filing status, you would use this last of the 4 columns for this range of income. So here's our tax, the 4678, that I can copy and paste into my box number 10 in my tax return. Now in line 11, we're asked whether our taxpayer has been covered with health insurance for the whole year. And if you can check off this box, that means there is 0 additional taxes, which is possibly called the individual responsibility payment that we'll learn more about when we reach chapter 9. So I just leave it blank for 0, and then line 12 would be adding up lines 10 and 11. So that's same 4678. Line 13, we're asked to take the difference between line 9 and 12. Line 9 is all the taxes we've paid during the year through withholding from our paycheck. And line 12 is the total tax for the year. So we paid more taxes already. So we're going to get back the difference as a refund here in line 13A, $282. And if we had the bank information for our taxpayer, we could enter it here and it would be direct deposited into the taxpayer's account. Otherwise, a check for $282 will be mailed to Jen at her address. Now, if we had the opposite situation where the taxes withheld for the year were less than the tax liability for the year, that difference would be a balance due that we would enter here in line 14, and we would have to write a check and payable to the United States Treasury. And here it says we have to enclose it, but don't staple or attach it because they want to cash it so fast when they get it. We do have to attach copies of the W-2, those two W-2 forms that show really income taxes being withheld. And if you want to have the taxpayer sign and date it and fill in this occupation and contact, you can then mail in this form to the address that's listed in the instruction booklet. Now, for the first assignment we have this semester, I'm going to have you submit this return into our Laulima site. So make sure you save your work and go ahead and close it. And then wherever you save it, open it up again just to make sure that all the fields you entered are filled in. I've had students submitting blank returns before. Okay, so if you have questions, email me, or you're welcome to drop by my office during my office hours. Okay, talk to you.